Now, if you haven't guessed by the giant piece of timber in front of me or the fact that the clue is in the title of this week's episode, allow me to tell you, I'm going to be making a planter for the North Garden. Now, if you remember in the design, there's actually quite a few more. I think there's either 8 to 10 of them. So in order to keep things short and not so boring, I'm going to show you how to make one of them. And then what's going to happen is I'll stop the cameras, I'll edit, and then someone else is going to make 7 more of them, and I'm going to claim them all as my own, because that's how showbiz works. Let's make a planter. Now, I've done this long enough that I don't need a fancy tape measure to tell me how long this is. I can simply step it out, and by looking at this, it tells me that, wow, it's about 2 meters. But for the interest of science, I'm going to use this tape measure just to confirm that I am in fact correct. And as you can see, it's 2.7, so just forget what I said. Choosing to ignore my incompetence in measuring, I decide to use a tape measure and measure the correct length. I then decide to do something even more stupid, like cut a piece of wood on a glass table. Perfect. A genius idea I had earlier was to put a plant pot on the other side in order to act as a counterweight so that it didn't fall over. Because there was a rake in the way, I couldn't even pull it towards me, so this required some expert balancing skills. Now, this glass table has lasted me for years, but I'm not going to tell you that I think it's an invincible glass table, because last time I accused something of being invincible, I ended up with that. So we're just going to say it's a good table. Don't solve things on glass tables. Safety lesson over, it was time to learn how to join it all. Now, I have a design that I like for my planters, and that's not just butt them on the end, but add a little end on each side, which creates this really nice pattern. And you alternate it on the next step, it looks really, really good. I want my internal width to be 60 centimeters. So what I've done is these are 3x6 timbers. So they're 7.5 centimeters wide, plus the 60 on the inside. So I need this bit to be 67.5. I'll then screw these in place. Let's put it together. Now, in order to fit these together, I'm going to be using these framing screws, and you may remember these from last week's episode when we were making the decking frame. The difference, though, between these planters and the frame is I'm not going to be covering the edges of these, so I want it to look clean. A really easy thing you want to do is take what's known as a flat saw bit, which is 18 mil. I'm going to drill a hole halfway through, not too deep, so that this can plunge through and grip into the other piece. And then I've got this wooden dowel, which is the same thickness as my drill bit. I'm going to hammer that directly in place, and then I'm going to saw it flat at the base, meaning it'll look nice and clean and you don't see any of the rough holes. Not too bad, eh? When your first layer's all screwed in, you can start to add the second layer, and you can just butt them on the end and join them together, but I think to give it a bit more of a professional feel, what I like to do is alternate the laps. As you can see here, it ends on that side quite nicely there and alternates that way. And then it goes together like this, which gives it a really nice pattern, but at the same time, it just looks really cool. Follow the steps all the way around and you should have 2 completed layers. Not too shabby, eh? Right, now I've got 2 layers, we've got to look at joining these together. And there are a couple of ways you can do this. Some people will drill holes through and they'll put metal rods which hold it in place. Another thing you can do is take some of your offcuts, even fence posts, and screw in here and here just to hold it in place like a bracket. Or there's a little bit of a cheating method, which I might get myself in a bit of trouble for. But if you've got these fantastic framing screws, what you can do is just angle it at a bit of an angle and put it straight through like that. And that holds it in pretty tight. After all, they are structural screws, so it's not like it's going anywhere. The only thing you want to watch out for when you're making any kind of planter is making sure it's not so long that when you put a lot of weight in here, it bows out. So what you can do is put in some fence posts along the side and bury them underground just to hold everything together. Stops it from warping, and which would be a lot easier. It isn't perfectly level, and there's a couple of ways in which you can deal with this. Don't go up, go down. So if you've got a little piece that's higher here, where using a spirit level, dig underneath it, gradually bring that level down, and then you're all good. And that's it. You've made yourself a planter. Planter built successfully, it's time to look at the liner. The final thing you want to do is line your planter. Now you can use these fabric membranes or you can use the plastic ones. It's completely up to you. What I like to do is just roll it out and go all the way along the perimeter and nail it at the top. But if you want to be a bit fancier, get yourself some tile batten like this. Remember, this was about £3 a length. And what you can do is place it there on top of the planter whilst you've got the liner in place, which not only clamps it in place, but hides the top of the liner, giving you a nice clean finish. So you can either go easy or you can go bougie. One planter successfully made and 7 more to be done by, well, someone else. My next job was to deal with the dreaded polytunnel. After it had collapsed, it had started to become a bit of an eyesore, so it was only fair that I start to take care of it. Some news had come in recently, and I think it's something worth sharing, so let's head on inside, shall we? Now, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I accidentally destroyed my polytunnel, and it was a freak accident that happened with my amazing washing idea. These things happen. And I had this really clever idea that I was going to make my own wooden frame greenhouse, and we're going to test that out still on my good friend Lou Sanders. However, something has happened over the last couple of weeks which has changed how we're going to design the garden completely, and it starts with a greenhouse. Now, Beth had this really clever idea when the polytunnel had gone, and she said, why don't you reach out to some greenhouse companies and see if there's one that you could do some research on, recommend as your preferred one, and go from there. And I thought, that's a fantastic idea, until I completely forgot about it and did nothing. But luckily for me and for you guys at home, I had done this about a year ago. I'd gone to all of the garden shows, met all of the brands, went inside all the greenhouses, and already picked the one that I liked. And in an even more interesting twist of fates, they reached out. So after a bit of to and from with a company called Rhino Greenhouses, we came to a really good deal. They would let me pick any greenhouse I like, so long as I occasionally film it, do some bits of PR stuff, and model for their catalogue. Really can't say no to that. And on top of that, they actually are a fan of the show. I didn't even think people watched this. After perusing their website and seeing what's available, I've got to be honest, I was a bit basic. I picked the first one I saw, and this is absolutely stunning. I can't believe I'm just going to be allowed this. The only downside is, though, now I've got to make a base for it. Whilst the news was exciting, this meant, unfortunately, there was another job I hadn't accounted for. Right, let's try this again, shall we? Hello. Right, now I was hoping that putting the beading over the top of this would create enough of a water barrier that the water wouldn't seep through, but as you saw last week, unfortunately it did, which is a bit of a pain, but not to worry. A lot of people in the comments came straight in and was like, it needs sealant, it needs sealant. So there's a plane above me and it's completely ruining my take. Don't live near an airfield, people. It's a pain. I've got myself some roof and gutter sealant here, and this has got a good adhesion, but also it's quite elasticated. So as some of this moves a little bit over time, because it's wood, it naturally will, it should still keep the seal. I'll make sure there's plenty in there, then we'll put the batten straight back on top. And as a result, that should hopefully keep it waterproof, and I don't have to be on this roof anymore. Now, if you've come from Instagram and you thought, well, hold on a second, I watched an instructional video of Ish put this roof on and it was absolutely perfect. That's the difference between Instagram and this series, because the lovely people at Sheet Plastics have provided me this in order to give them a good demonstration. So I've used this series as a test to see whether this actually worked. And because it didn't, it means when I do the proper tutorial on Instagram, you'll be like, wow, this man definitely knows his stuff. But they won't know I went wrong. Okay, sealant in place, and all I've got to do is put the batten straight back on, and I'll really push that in to compress against all that sealant to hold it in place, and then I'll nail or screw this back in, and as you can see, it's got a nice clean finish, so hopefully this shouldn't leak anymore. An almost flawless day. I think that's probably going to hold now. You've got to be kidding me. People often ask me to provide bloopers of this show, but just be aware, this show is just bloopers. This is my life, people. You couldn't make up this shit if you tried. Don't let this get wet. Let it cure for at least 24 hours. Don't throw it in a pond. Let's move on, shall we, to something more painful. Ow. Right, a little behind the scenes here for you, because as you can probably see, underneath the pergola is an absolute tip. And when you film every single day like I do, and you have to have all that stuff, you end up buying a considerable amount. And as you can see, it starts to take over. So whilst this is now curing, and I've got this waterproof, think it's about time I cleaned underneath the pergola. It's absolute madness how much stuff I accumulate over the course of winter for doing my demonstrations, but as you can see, there's quite a few things here I've had to take back. Some I didn't even realise I had, but luckily I also had a bin bag just to get rid of some of the rubbish items that aren't needed anymore. I also discovered it wasn't just me making the mess. Some good news, it's not just me that made a mess, it looks like the dogs did too. Sorry, Mr. Squirrel. I should probably point out as well, that was a toy squirrel, not a real one. That'd be gross. Now, if you're worried that all of these plants that I buy for the demonstrations are going to waste, please don't. They will get planted in the North Garden or gifted to friends and family, but they always go to a good home. No matter how many I've got, we'll always find space. There's something I want to show you. Come have a look at this. Let's pop that there. Right, I've just nominated this corner here as plant corner so I can see where everything is, and also it still gets the rain from outside, so I don't have to worry about watering it for now. There is a barbecue there somewhere, wouldn't know where. What I have found though, whilst I've been digging about, is this. Now, this is a sedum, and as you can see, it's all finished and dead there, but look at all of that fantastic foliage at the bottom. I got this at an absolute steal about 3 months ago for about £2. And this is why I'm always telling you, buy the sale rail plants, because next year, it comes out looking just as amazing. What you do is cut that. Not bad, eh? 3 bin bags later and it was starting to look a little bit cleaner, so I grabbed the brush from underneath even more mess and decided to give it a really good sweep. The deck area was cleaning up really nicely and I started working on the table as well, and it was actually starting to look a little bit like I took pride in where I live. That's nice. The muck, however, was not. Now, I don't know about you, but this looks a lot tidier, and I can actually sit here and enjoy the space. And that's the cool thing about gardening, again, in February and March time, is that if the weather's not on your side, focus on tidying up and getting the space ready for spring. And as a result, you can enjoy this a lot longer. There's something that I've quite enjoyed about filming this so far, and I thought I was getting quite behind, but I feel like I'm catching up, which is exciting. Don't do that Fade to Black thing. I don't want to know what I've forgotten, please. Oh. No!
You know what I've just realised? In episode 1, didn't you visit someone to help design their garden? Whatever happened to them? You forgot, didn't you? I knew we forgot.